Okay, so I want to talk about evidence for a second, right? A lot of people throw the word around because they don't understand the word, okay? So I went to Google once again, and I just put in define evidence. And the first answer that we get is a verb, be or show evidence of. As a noun, the available body of facts or information indicating whether a belief or proposition is true or valid. Okay? Now, that means that it is what is used to demonstrate whether a belief is based in truth. Okay? Now, when evidence is not available or has not yet been discovered, this doesn't invalidate the belief. It merely means that the belief has been established and the evidence has not yet been found. It is impossible to have evidence that is false. Okay? False evidence. This is because nothing is anything other than what it is. Okay? In some of the philosophy that I've gone through, I came across one that I really liked, and it stuck with me, and anybody that knows me can attest that I use the expression probably 2 or 3 times a day. It comes up a lot because people frequently misunderstand things. And the expression is, it is what it is. And it actually comes from a slightly longer sentence, where what's actually said is, nothing is anything other than what it is. Okay? That means, at its core value of what that sentence, what that statement means, that statement's intended message is, what is. Okay? Nothing is anything other than what it really is. No matter what you think it is, no matter what you believe it is, no matter what you've misunderstood it to be, everything is what it is. It can't be anything other than what it is. Okay? The significance of that is that in terms of people that want proof and evidence of things, when you don't have a method established yet for proving something, this doesn't make it that the object that is being tested or questioned isn't real or can't be tested. It means that we don't have the necessary method to test it yet in some cases. 3,000 years ago, they didn't know how to test for an atom. And that doesn't mean that atoms didn't exist. It means that they didn't know how to do it yet. My first of my videos on religion, I talk about the fact that I don't know how to test for God. How do you prove God? I don't know. I don't know if there needs to be a proof. But there are people who want one. They think that they're better than others because, or that they're more mentally sound than others because they've developed the question of whether there's a God. Okay. The reality, though, is your ability to question it doesn't always mean that the answer is knowable yet. And that means that if you don't know how to test it, that doesn't mean that it's not there to be tested, that you can't verify it. Okay? It just means you don't know how to verify it. And there is no harm in that. People like to say dumb things like, can you prove my third invisible arm? Well, you know what? We do know how to test that. If you were to say that your third arm is also intangible and it is magical and such, well, you're making up ways to make it harder to test, and that's fine. But understand the difference. Understand that you are using knowledge and information on hand already to backwards mask, to hide it in reverse. Where God is a theory and concept that's way older. And for all of the stuff that we've come up with so far, we just haven't found a way to be able to verify it yet. Here's a good one for you though, and I like this one. When asked, is there evidence of God's work? Evidence that God did it? Somebody asked me the other day, how do you know that the Big Bang wasn't God's work? So anytime somebody says, is there evidence? Well, you know what? There isn't actually evidence of the Big Bang because it can't be proven. So let me amend that because I'm saying it wrong. What we have is not necessarily evidence because they can't prove that's what happened. It's just theories. And it's a good theory, and it's very entertaining. And what makes it really interesting is how much thought has been put into it. For all the thought that's been put into it, though, that doesn't make it right. That doesn't make it wrong, but it doesn't make it right. Evidence. What is evidence? What is evidence of God's work? I don't know. What is evidence of God's existence? I don't know. The idea that knowledge is more important or more viable than feeling, well, that's not really true either. Instinct. Instinct isn't necessarily knowledge. It's kind of a gut feeling thing. Spiders just get a feel for how to make a web. They don't get taught. They don't sit in school. They don't go to college to learn new methods of building a web. They just kind of have a feel for it. You don't teach a baby how to eat. A baby comes out, and at the time at which it needs food, it knows what it's looking for. It goes after it. Nobody has educated the baby what eating is. Every animal that I've ever encountered, fish, dogs, cats, birds, snakes, lizards, all of them have the ability to identify the eyes on a being. Upon first appearance, first time they ever see it, they instinctively understand what the eyes are. You can test it for yourself. Most animals today have a really good sense of this. And if you're still, lock eyes with the animal, slowly close one eye, then close the other eye. The large majority of animals will identify what you have done, and they will repeat what you have done. If they didn't know what eyes were, didn't have any concept for it, how would they know? Is this evidence of intellect? Comprehension? I'd say it is. Evidence. What is evidence of God's work, God's existence? I'll tell you what I think evidence is. Evidence is the fact that I can cut my hands and I can count on the cells in my hands repairing the damage as best as possible. Another thing that I'll address real quick though is I think part of why people have trouble comprehending it is because people have trouble comprehending what God is even about. There was another statement made some time back, and I don't know the scientist to attribute it to or the philosopher or whoever, but the concept was that any technology far enough removed from society becomes magical. It doesn't actually have to have been magic, but if you're more advanced than that around you, it seems magical. A TV 300 years ago would have probably gotten you beheaded and burned in a public ceremony because you've trapped all those little people in the box. Cells are small life forms. They work together to accomplish a sequence of tasks. Most cells have pre-written commands. It's pretty amazing. I mean, think about it in the grand scheme of things. We come pre-programmed with all kinds of data, all kinds of information. that seems feasible, that's accidental. To me, that's evidence that there's intelligent design. And I can tell you, I don't know if every word of the Bible is true. I'm okay saying that. I think that the reason why some of that matters is because we know for a fact that basically the Bible was used as a weapon, as a very powerful weapon for years. We know that in that process, a lot of things were utilized, and not all of them necessarily were what the Bible actually meant or said. I research stuff constantly, and I found stuff about the name Lucifer that I didn't know. I mean, I knew that it was of Latin origin, but the concept hadn't really kicked for me that the Bible being written in Hebrew and Greek really had no use for a Latin name, did it? Worth digging into a little more. For those of you out there that are believers, look into some of this stuff. A lot of what we're being taught about the Bible doesn't match up. And that doesn't mean that the Bible isn't valid. It means that we need to look harder, look further, to find why these things don't match up. A lot of the non-believers try and point out how inconsistent the Bible is, but they also know that the Bible has been tampered with. So it makes sense that there would be some inconsistency in some ways. The inconsistency doesn't invalidate it, though. Not as a whole. Does it make it hard? It does. Absolutely. But it's not by discarding it that we actually accomplish anything. By discarding it, what we do is we lose sight of what's been done already. I mean, science doesn't want to throw away all the scientific effort of the people that came before. Science uses that information constantly. And if you're a non-believer, you probably believe that that's a brilliant thing for science to do. In terms of religion, though, people like to say that the Bible isn't valid. One commenter said something to the effect of that, well, if the world were obliterated from nuclear war, and then 200 years from now or whatever, the survivors find a Bible, or they find a book, excuse me, they didn't find a Bible in his example, they find a book, and in this book it talks about how the wizard Gandalf the Grey has been slain in fire, but then he comes back. These people could easily believe that was a true story based on the situation they were in. And the difference between his idea and the Bible is that the Bible hasn't stopped being used. The Bible has continued to be in use since it was written, since it was added to. It's been there for 1,000 years, 2,000 years. So it's not like somebody just picked it up after not seeing it for 2,000 years. The Bible's been there the whole time. So once again, it's efforts like that to try to discredit the possibility of the Bible having a lot of value. You gotta stay on guard for those people, okay? And I say stay on guard for them because people that try to break your faith frequently do so by using tricks. They try to get evidence that it doesn't work. They try to get you to get trapped in trying to find evidence that isn't there. Evidence that they're just going to dispute no matter what you do anyway. Because what they want is to prove that there isn't anything, because it helps them justify their behaviors. More often than not. Some people don't believe because they just simply don't see the point. And it's people like that who, when they are looking, they need to be able to look and find people who aren't afraid to say, I don't know, let's go look together. Religion doesn't need more people who claim to know everything. It's been my experience so far that nobody I've talked to knows everything about religion. Not one. When I left organized religion behind, that was why. People claiming to know so much more than they actually knew. There's nothing wrong with saying I believe or I think. But differentiate between I think and I know. Evidence is what we know. Belief is what we think, what we feel. Keep in mind, the next time somebody asks you for evidence of God, tell them, you know what? Maybe you don't know what evidence they're looking for. So just ask them. What evidence would you like? Most of the time, they'll scoff. Well, I want a handwritten note. Well, I don't have a handwritten note. Is that the only evidence that you're willing to accept? I like doing these videos, and I like talking to people about religion. It's important to know that there's nothing wrong with having faith. Okay? It's important, and a lot of people don't feel comfortable with their faith to the point where they understand how to deal with people who challenge their faith. Not everybody has spent the time looking for ways to deal with arguments and conversations and discussions on faith. Not everybody should have to. I'm going to wrap this video because I've got another separate conversation I want to have, and I don't want them to run together too much. So be at peace. You guys have a good one.